This is the second time I'm recording this because apparently my audio didn't capture last time I recorded it. So this video is going out later than I want, and it'll probably be mostly unedited since I have to go to work. But this is my thoughts on the new ban list. No intro or anything, whatever. Thank you to our Lord and Savior Jerome McHale for putting our presentation basically and actually showing us the list at the end of the YCS. I thought that was pretty cool. They'd never done that before in the history of Yu-Gi-Oh! As far as I know, so that was really neat. There were some people at the last ban list that were asking about that, so I think that also played a part in them doing this whole skit and show of it and all that stuff. It's pretty cool. The list itself is alright. I think a lot of the bans and limits probably could have occurred on the last ban list, to be honest. But to have them hit now, I think is fine. It definitely deals with a lot of stuff that a lot of us didn't really like in the format. So I'll go over it in the order that Jerome went over. I'll go with the unlimits first, because the unlimits and semi-limits are kind of not really impactful. So for unlimits, 3 Dragon Rulers, it's cool. Probably not going to do anything. Maybe a rogue pure Dragon Ruler deck will come about, or maybe that third copy of each ruler helps Dragon Ruler cash as a rogue option. Cash is going to be good this format, so I mean, maybe that'll be something. But those are not really going to be impactful. The Lunalight Tiger, same thing. Maybe some Ryzio Lunalight thing can come about, because Lunalights love to do rank 4 plays, more so than the fusion summoning that they're usually built to do, so that could potentially be a fun thing, but probably not going to be as good as just pure Ryzio. So whatever. Opening the Spirit Gates to 3, I think it's fine given the limit that Yubel got. I think Fiendsmith Yubel is still going to be able to contend, it's just going to be lower in the tiers. So 3 opening versus 1 is neither here nor there, given the limit of Fiendsmith Yubel, which I'll talk about briefly here in a bit. Ib to 3 doesn't matter. I think the only unlimitation that will do anything at all is really going to be Pankratops. Pank to 3, Pank is a really good card, so obviously I think Fenrir's going to be better this format, but Pank to 3 could allow subjects that add an additional body. And Pank is a bit more proactive versus reactive compared to Fenrir, because Fenrir needs your opponent to do something to get that banished, whereas Pank can just summon itself and pop something. So I think for Pank to 3, really cool. Again, it's probably not going to be the most value hand trap non-engine thing you can run, but it's still cool. For the semi-limits, there's probably an unlimit I missed. There is an unlimit I missed, actually. Airlifter. Airlifter to 3 probably could have come back sooner, given the ban to fire decks. It was kind of, we were so back, and then it was all Jover for Rescue Ace, although I think Rescue Ace Fiendsmith can still be a thing. Just probably gonna be a lower tier deck, because you just put up all the turbulence stuff and then Desiree on top of it, which is fine. But yeah, those are all the unlimits. For the semi-limits, again, these ones aren't really, I don't think, going to do anything crazy, because they were all stuff that came down off the list, not anything that went to 2 from 3. The Dangers, those probably could have come back much sooner. Maybe they can do something in Tearlament or Goblin Biker, but they're not really going to do a whole lot in the grand scheme of things. But it is cool that they're finally back. So whatever. What else was summoned? Eva. Eva didn't really see any play in Voiceless, which is the biggest ritual thing right now. Yeah, I don't think it's probably gonna do anything in Voiceless. Drytron maybe as a rogue strategy can play it, which is cool. But with Drytron's new support, they're kind of more so leaning towards the machine ritual only type thing. So that, yeah, it's all right. But Eva to 2 isn't gonna do much. Monkey Board to 2, cool. If anything, the pendulum thing they need to bring off the list would be Electromite. I think Electromite is fine to come back now, but whatever, it's their decision. But monkey board to 2 is fine. Pendulums aren't really doing anything right now, and the second monkey board is not going to make a difference. What other semis were there? I can't think of any of those. But again, the semis and the unlimits, they're not going to mean anything really. I'm going to miss a couple. They're not the biggest thing. The limits are where we start to get the things that really matter. So first off, Chandra and Sangan Kaimen both to 1, along with Sangan Summoning at 1, that entirely cripples Tenpai to a really big extent. You lose basically all your follow-up. If you can't get to lethal off of what you have, you're just losing the next turn, because your follow-up game is atrocious now. You basically have to play more Genroku now if you want more tuners, but if Chandra gets like Call Bite or Crowed or whatever removed from the game, you're mega screwed. So I think Tenpai will probably still see some experimentation and whatnot. Of course, some people still like that deck quite a lot, so people are going to try to make it work, but I think it's going to be very similar to the OCG, where it's going to be a tier C or D deck. It's not going to do as much as it had been doing around here. Similarly, Phantom of Yubel to 1, that's amazing. An OCG hit, but I think it makes a lot of sense. They can't use the second one for climbing into a bigger board now, and if the first one is lost, then you basically have to have Nightmare Throne shuffle it back, or else you can't keep recurring a monster negate every turn. And it also makes it a bit harder to just accrue those Yubel bodies and go for game with Nightmare Pain. So overall, I really like that hit. Fiendsmith Yubel, like I said previously, especially with 3 Spirit Gates, is probably still going to be a low tier contender, going to be fine. Fiendsmith is good this format, but if you want a Fiendsmith deck, I don't think Yubel is kind of the pick anymore. Fiendsmith Pure or Musket Fiendsmith, or even Cash Fiendsmith are probably going to be better picks overall. Yubel, again, not dead, but crippled in a way that's going to lower its usage and lower where it is in the tiers, but it's not entirely dead. I do like how they've been doing that lately, where they've been hitting decks where it matters without entirely killing them for the most part, but if something is just too good, they'll just kill it. Last limit was Zodiac Barrage. With Dryden and Broadbull banned, that's probably not going to do a whole lot, although I could see Pure Fire King run it as like their 5th copy of FKI after the 3 copies in the Terraforming, just because it pops stuff, which is cool. But there's not really anything like crazy that you can go into off of a zoo monster now because of Dryden and Broadbull not being off the list yet. Dryden could have come back, I think, and it's fine. Maybe there's some brew with Ryziel and Zodiac just to make more bodies for duo drive, but again, I think pure Ryziel or Fiendsmith Ryziel is probably going to be the play with that deck. And then for the bans, Nightmare, Game Puppy Nightmare and Jowgen. Again, Nightmare could have been banned last list. Brandon is entirely irrelevant now, but I get what they were trying to do, just get some of these floodgate things out of the way. Future-proofing, but also stopping these rogue decks from just locking stuff out, which is cool. Jowgen, for now, is a hit to stun, but in the future is also a proactive hit to stop the Fiend Link 4 from Suda, Abao Aku, or whatever it's called, from locking. So I think that's a nice retroactive hit. Or preemptive, that's the word, preemptive hit. I like that. And finally, OSS. I love that hit. I was surprised it was OSS and not Flamberge, because level 1 fire decks just kind of lose their bridging and lose all that extra consistency now, which kind of sucks for some of those lower tier decks, like especially like Infernoid and Rescue Ace that weren't doing anything but get punished for the sins of Snake Eye. But something had to be banned in Snake Eye to kill it, and I think OSS is good enough. I would have wanted to go for Flamberge instead, but either way, going to be really hard to make any Snake Eye deck like actually work now. If anything, it'll just be the Azamina engine thrown into stuff for extra Omni negate instead of just Snake Eye. This camera is going to keep moving. I apologize. But yeah, I like the OSS hit. Again, probably should have been something on the last list to really shake up the format, but neither here nor there. I know some people are like, oh, it's too late because if you see the YCS Anaheim breakdown, there was only one Snake Eye in Top Cut, and there was only like a handful that made it to day 2, which is true. There wasn't a lot of Snake Eye in Top Cut until like day 2, which is true. But I think the idea was that we've had Snake Eye as a deck in the format for literally over a year. With last October that it became a thing. So for these new decks to come out and be so powerful out the gate, I think part of it was, yeah, they power creep Snake Eye, but also people just wanted something fresh. So a lot of folks went towards Malice and Ryzeal as a pick. So potentially the usage of those decks pre-Banlist could have been slightly inflated just because they're fresh and everyone wants to try them. But either way, yes, the deck's most likely just power creep Snake Eye, so this hit is a bit too late. Again, it could have been on the last list, but it's finally nice that Snake Eye is kind of dead. So people probably still try to make it work, but I think what it's going to amount to is just an Azamina engine and some decks for an Omni negate, which is totally fine. I think the Azamina engine itself is okay. All it does is put up Murcielago and Ilia Sylvia, and then the Book of Moon Sinful Spoils trap, which is fine. And it could be a White Forest thing later down the line. So that's it for everything they hit. Again, there's probably some semis and unlimits that I missed, but they really don't matter. Overall, pretty good list. There's some stuff I'm surprised they didn't hit to at least one, like Bonfire. I'm surprised never got touched. Yeah, it's a consistency piece for Ryzeal, but it's also a consistency piece for Snake Eye. Since they banned OSS, I can see the argument and be like, okay, you already lost your consistency for those level 1s, because 1-10 Diabell Star and Deception can't get you there anymore without OSS. So it's Bonfire or Bust, so that's alright. I can kind of see why they didn't do that, like the OCG. Deck Lockdown, I'm kind of surprised didn't get hit to 1. They've been on a trend of putting Floodgates to 1 or 0. So I'm surprised Deck Lockdown didn't get hit, but also Deck Lockdown, like, it's really only being ran by Centurion because of the synergy with the protection from Auxilla. So I can see why, like, there's not a lot of other decks running Deck Lockdown. And especially in the Ryzeal format, if they have X'd Ryzeal, they can just send Aggregator and negate the Deck Lockdown. So I can see that being a weaker card in this format, and it's whatever. I don't think it'll see a ton of widespread play, but in Centurion especially, I think it will see still a little bit of play. In terms of other limits, I saw some talk about D-Barrier and Lancia, but I think those are going to be necessary evils for this format, just given how powerful they are against what are basically the best 2 decks now. Maybe they'll hit them down the line when they actually properly hit Malice and Ryzeal. So yeah, maybe they'll do that then, but for now I think like the logic for them hitting them wasn't sound, so they weren't going to hit them, and that's whatever. Yeah, I could go on and ramble more about what things they didn't hit, but what they hit I think is good enough. They can't hit Ryzeal and Malice out the gate because they want to sell the product. They always do these things. So yeah, those 2 decks plus any Fiendsmith variant are probably the best decks in the room, but there's no, like, I don't think there's any like one crazy best deck. Maybe you could argue Ryzeal, of course, but I think everything else can contend to an extent. It's a pretty open format now. The oppressiveness of Tenpai Snake Eye, Yubel are all gone. They were probably already like mostly gone with the release of Crossover Breakers, but this Banlist kind of cements it. So we're in Ryzeal Malice format now, and that's cool. I like this format. I think it's gonna be kind of fun. But in terms of how that affects Centurion, I am going to have that deck profile for Horus Centurion out soon, and I will do more detail about what I think about how the deck fares into Ryzeal and Malice in that. So keep an eye out for that. Should be out like the day after this comes out or something like that. 2 days after. Probably 2 days after. If I can remember my own schedule. But yep, that was my thoughts on the ban list. Once again, in my car, because they always release these things while I'm at work, which is so fun. Definitely let me know what you think of the ban list in the comments. What you think about the format ahead, what you think they should have hit, all that kind of stuff. What are your thoughts? Like, what will you be playing for the new format? What are your thoughts on the format? All that stuff. Let's discuss in the comments. I think that'd be really cool. Just for some extra thoughts. But yeah, that was my thoughts, my rambles. Like, subscribe, comment, all that stuff, and I'll catch you in the next one.